Hi everyone, welcome back to another Workout Wednesday. Today we have a very special edition for you. We are here talking with Anita Vining and Nancy Hogshead. So without further ado, let's get started. Firstly, thank you all both for doing this. This is a great opportunity to get to speak to two champions in our industries of real estate and as well as women's equality in sports and just athletics in general. But I wanted to start just kind of very general. How did the two of you come to meet each other or know each other? Was it referrals? Were you friends over time? Or how did you meet?
I met Nancy when her family was interviewing realtors to list this fabulous home that was her mom and dad's.
Yeah.
Where she grew up.
So this was your childhood home, correct?
Yeah. Yes. We moved into this house when I was 11 years old.
Yeah.
And, I have spent every single Thanksgiving and Christmas here virtually my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
I think last year was the first year that we didn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, just so many memories.
So is there just like a little bit of like sadness leaving the house, or is it good feelings, or you can look back and have great memories and things, but is it because I've moved out of my childhood homes before, and there's that little twinge of like sadness that you get of all the memories that you've had. So have you felt any of those?
So did you know the history?
No.
She's not moving out. She's moving in.
Sweet.
She purchased it.
Oh, okay. Well, awesome. I did not know that. Then even better.
Growing up and now moving back.
Awesome.
Right. So because of Anita, and so she was working with the three of us, me and my two siblings. Then, and she was absolutely wonderful to work with.
Yeah.
And so initially I actually tried to live in the house right after my parents died. And I really couldn't, like you were saying, with the twinge of sadness.
Yeah.
And then, having nothing to do with Anita, nothing to do with the house, we had a couple contracts fall through.
Yeah.
And what? Four contracts fall through. Well, I thought it was 3, but I was going to say 2 but anyway, but it had, interest rates and blah, blah.
Yeah.
So, so then we thought, well, it's not going to sell November, December. So Nancy, why don't you just, move in? And then I just, then my siblings were like, okay, we want to keep it as an anchor house.
Yeah.
And, so we were able to do it. That's so, I'm here. Yeah. I'm here in the anchor house.
That's good.
Yeah.
And you get now to just keep that legacy moving on and create even more memories now. So
exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly.
So
I call it divine intervention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it kind of moves me on to next question. All of us were born outside of Florida and Jacksonville, and moved here later on in our lives. What is that one thing that whenever you did move here, you found out what made this city feel like home?
When I was 11?
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, after my parents died, I really thought, like, my kids are going off to college, and I really thought, well, maybe I'll live in New York City or Washington, D.C. or some other place. And my friends kind of circled around and said, like, okay, stop it right now. We want you to stay. Yeah. And it was very nice. So I sort of made buying the house and everything a lot better. But what, do you have like a one thing when...
Oh, I can say it in one word. I say it to every relocation person I work here. As big as the city is, it is the most wonderful, community. You've got choices of different neighborhoods, but everywhere you go, you get that sense of welcoming, you get a sense of community, and I've never wanted to leave. I raised both of my children here. I moved here in 1983, and awesome. Wild horses couldn't get me out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because I'm just over a year here moving from Mississippi, So I mean, it's been interesting to see how expansive the city is, but also you find your little areas that are just your
similarities to Mississippi.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I mean, you get riverfront and beachfront. Where I'm from, South Mississippi on the Gulf, so I was really worried about getting away from the water, and I found that even though I don't live on water now, it's still that same kind of small town feeling in such a big areas. It's very unique to experience, and I've come to like this city a lot. I think I can see myself staying here.
Yeah, good. Glad to hear it. Yeah. I mean, it's also a phenomenal place. Like you were saying, you raised your kids here. I did too. Mm-hmm. And it is a phenomenal place. I just haven't run into any barriers of you don't belong or you shouldn't be here. Have you?
No.
Yeah. So it is very nice that, the sort of the welcome mat and the openness. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So similar to that question, what was the one thing that made each of you believe that your occupation in life or your professional endeavors were the right ones for you with real estate and then athletics and what you do now with Champion Women?
Do you want me to go first?
Yes.
Okay. So being an Olympic champion from the 1984 Olympics, and I wanted to be a civil rights lawyer, and I just thought the best way that I could make a difference was to work in sports, to make sure that women had equal opportunities, equal scholarship dollars, they got treated the same way. Yeah. I've done a lot of work with the issue of sexual abuse in sport. It's much like the church or the synagogues or the Boy Scouts, or whenever you have this power dynamic. Yeah. And, when Larry Nassar came along, we were kind of perfectly poised to jump on that issue. Yeah. And we're also trying to make sure that women's sports stays for women. So we're trying to make sure that there are places for transgender athletes and non-binary to be able to compete and to be part of the sports world, but not in the women's category, if they're male. Yeah.
Anita, what about you?
Well, I think when I got into real estate, my reasoning for getting into real estate was because I had witnessed some just very relaxed atmospheres among some of the people, and I wanted it to be a profession. I've always loved working, and when I decided to go to work selling real estate, my entire goal was to be the best that I could be for my customers, but finding Berkshire Hathaway, my goodness, it catapulted my career. It gives me the tools to work with and the education. And that probably, as a challenge in our career, I find that we just have people that think they want to get in, get rich quick. It's the last job you'll ever get into to get rich quick. Yeah. But I love what I do. I was passionate the day I started, and I wake up every day with that same passion. I never regret going to work. I love it.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
And as somebody who's been on the other side working with Anita, it is just smooth and easy, and it can be very fraught. Buying a big house and two siblings that also own the house, etc. And it just wasn't, was it? Did you have
Your family was amazing to work with, and I've worked with a lot of families.
Yeah.
They're not always so cohesive.
Yeah.
But I can't say enough nice things about Andy and Sally and you, because they were, Andy especially, he guided the ship, and he did a good job navigating.
Yeah. My brother really gets lots and lots of kudos for,
Awesome. On that topic of Olympics, the Olympic opening ceremonies are in the coming weeks. It's kind of like a big reason why we want to do the video.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of talk about champions in these next couple of weeks.
Right.
You both are champions in your own sense, with obviously being an Olympic athlete and then the top producer in our company for many years. How do you keep yourself determined now after you have achieved so much already? What keeps you getting up every day and pushing yourself towards some goal that you have?
Oh, that's a great question. For me, it's not like because I'm trying to get someplace. It's a being.
Yeah.
Right? Who I am is an advocate for women in sports. And it I love getting up every day, just like Anita. I love my work. I feel privileged to be able to do it, and when I think of one of the best things that being in the Olympics taught me, granted I was young, was sort of two things. One is there are these feelings of flow, of sort of mastery, of grace and beauty, and right, where like, it kind of happens without you, like there's this otherworldliness about when you have your 10,000 hours, so to speak, right? And the same thing happens professionally when you're really good at something and it just feels like you're in flow. Yeah. You're making something happen. And then two is the idea that, to be able to work hard even on days that you really don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anita?
I think kind of in a similar way, I would, number one, never compare myself to this Olympic champion of swimming. I think my company has made me a champion by recognizing my hard work and my accomplishments. But I think, like swimming, it's a very competitive field.
Yeah.
And, you always want to win.
Exactly.
And it's not that I'm out there trying to beat someone, but I'm trying to be the best that I can be.
Yeah.
For my customers, for my friends. And I think that's probably the correlation of the two is just discipline, being there to compete for what you're going for.
Yeah.
And selling a home is not just getting a contract.
Right.
There's a finish line.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's you just have to work hard to get there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh.
So many people define being successful in a multitude of ways. How did you define success when you first started in your career, and how do you define success now?
That's a good question. Why don't you go first on this one?
Well, I think the success is because my goal was to be the very best that I could be. And once I got into it and realized how much I loved it, I had to perfect my skills. I didn't have the skills. And as you know, in real estate, our technology changes daily. Mm-hmm. Our programs change daily. And now our contracts are changing after many years. So you've got to always be working hard, be diligent, and be disciplined to learn all that goes, the tools that you need for that success. And that was ultra important for me as an individual. And I must say, I wasn't working for Berkshire Hathaway in the beginning, but for a very short, brief moment, I was at a company that had no training. Mm-hmm. And I had to just jump in there and dig, and thankfully had a mentor in the office who I will be forever beholden to, because he was a Jacksonville native-born person, and I love him dearly. God rest his soul. But as I said,
who was it?
Elliot Adams.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh, a fabulous man.
Okay.
But working for Berkshire Hathaway, just as I said, catapulted me to the next level, and I never looked back. It was just every day. Something else, the phone's ringing.
Yeah.
It's still ringing, thankfully.
Yeah. So, because I was wondering if it was my godfather, who's Wade Hampton.
Wade?
Yes.
I listed Wade's home.
Right? Exactly.
Before Wade got into real estate, I had his home listed in Ortega.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
So, a great guy.
So, yeah, right.
After
So,
Celeste passed,
right.
Wade got into real estate.
Right. Yeah. And he was with Berkshire, right? He was with
he was with another company.
He was?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Learn something every day.
He was with a competitor.
Okay.
But I loved Wade.
One of the things that I hear you say about, like, you've got to learn, and the company's really, right, is having that growth mindset that you're always willing to step outside and do things that you've never done before, and you're always new technology or contracts or whatever it is. It's the exact same with what it is. There's one part of what I do, which is making sure that women have equal opportunities in sports. That part hasn't changed very much at all. I've got my research assistant right now upstairs who is working on, we just wrote 101 letters to the schools that were discriminating against women the most.
Wow.
Florida State is one of them, Miami's one of them, University of South Florida is one of them. And so that part in terms of like, how do you measure that and whatnot, that really hasn't changed that much. But so many other things have, so many other challenges, this new NIL, this new antitrust lawsuit that is about to be settled, and how's that going to impact women? Like, that's all, it's like you're constantly learning new things, and you got to surround yourself with people who are sort of like-minded, who are willing to push the envelope.
Yeah. I'm glad both of you mentioned some of the changes that are happening in your industries, because that's what our next question is about. It's how do you navigate changes yourselves, and what advice do you have to people on how to navigate those changes? So it can be with the contracts that we are having in real estate, that's on the forefront, the class action lawsuit that's been going on, and then now NIL, how it's tossed a whole new aspect into the world of sports.
Right,
so
right.
Anything along those lines?
Well, I think for me, it's like I said to my broker, because the wonderful thing about our company is training.
Yeah.
And we have had training on these new contracts for months. And it's like, get the contract and you read it. And if there's nothing in there you don't understand, then you ask the question. But it is a legal, I'm going to say, a very litigious industry. And it is ultra important to know that contract backwards and forward. And I have found, honestly, I have written multiple contracts, and I actually like the new contract better than the old contract. And I have embraced it with my customers, and I'm just riding into it like I've always had it. But I did feel like initially, I'm going to have to hire a lawyer. I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to hire a lawyer to do this.
Right.
Nah. We've got such a backup and a legal team in our company. And, with changes, especially working for a big company, there's always change.
Yeah.
I thought that Linda Shear would be the owner of my company forever.
Yeah.
And what'd she do? She sold it to Warren Buffett. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So talk about change.
Yeah.
Right.
But Linda still comes to work every day, and we
Oh.
love her dearly.
Absolutely.
But I love telling that story anytime I go on an appointment. So you just embrace change, and you roll with it. Sometimes I think change you don't agree with.
Yeah.
You have to, like Linda said, if you've got a complaint, come with an answer. Come with a way to solve it.
That is genius right there. Yeah. So
Master of solutions is what she calls it.
Exactly. Master, if you have a complaint, come with a solution. Yeah, because like in the NIL, I feel like part of my job is reminding people that really know, but say the media and the whatever, they don't understand the difference between money that comes in that is separate from the school, separate from education, and what they're responsible for if it is part of education. So if it is pay for play, then women get the exact same thing. And so these collectives that are being used to recruit athletes, women get the exact same thing. So it's my responsibility to speak out, because who cannot speak out are women coaches. They will get fired. I've been an expert witness in lots of cases, unfortunately, where the coach gets fired because they just basically say, my athletes are not getting treated the way you're treating the male athletes, and they get labeled as a complainer. No, you're not getting fired for speaking up about Title IX. You're getting fired because you're complaining. And so I really feel like my job is to do what other people can't. People inside the NCAA would like to think that Title IX doesn't exist. They have a long. There was one period where we had Miles Brand. He was the president of the NCAA, and he totally got it. Mm-hmm. But I mean, the last, you know, and but they have made decision after decision that is against the interests of women in sports, and consequently, like one of the things that we do is there's this. Not to get in the weeds too much, but there's this website called Equity and Athletics Disclosure Act, and it has 19 years of amazing data. So we took all that data, turned it into a website, and you can see, like, when the NCAA made these decisions, like, for example, not to hold schools accountable for treating men and women equally, then, like, the numbers go down. And the scholarships go down. So right now, women are missing out on about a third of the opportunities that they should be having. A third. People think it's done, right? So my job is to do what other people can't, which is to let people know how big the issue is. And some of these things like NIL and this antitrust law decision that's going to pay 10 years backwards, that just how important it is that whatever you do, if it's 2.3 million now for the men, you got to double that, because you're going to have that for the women as long as it's part of education. So
you're advocating.
Yes, exactly.
What made you want to become a lawyer after you got out of school?
I just wanted the world to be better for women.
I love that.
Yeah. So, and I just thought like the law was kind of the way to do it. I thought I was going to go directly undergrad law school, and then, you know, I was making all this money and was, you know, doing all this stuff right after the Olympics. And so, you know, I took a gap in between there, but never lost. I could tell that who was having the most fun doing the work were the lawyers. And I was like, okay, I want to be with that group over there. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Just the final question for us today is, if you could have it your way, your perfect scenario, what do you want your industries to be like in 5 or 10 years from now?
Oh, I would love to be out of business. I would love to have women have equality. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, we have a hard time even having people recognize like what the issue is. So when it comes to, say, the issue of sexual abuse, who the risk is to the athlete is the male coach. And we even have a hard time getting the sports organizations, even the U.S. Center for Safe Sport. It took us 7 years to get the U.S. Center for Safe Sport opened.
Wow.
And then, like, to have an entity that investigates and, you know, make sure that you don't have somebody who's coming right out of prison, goes to work for a sports facility. Yeah. So, but just for them to say, coaches shall not have romantic and sexual relationships with the athletes they coach, regardless of age or consent. So, there's some really just profoundly basic things that I would love if they would, if sports organizations would do. Yeah. And I think that, like, you know, ESPN and some others, who they have on their shows, they don't even acknowledge that there is a women's side of the equation.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't realize that as a spectator.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I could go on, but okay, what about you?
Well, I think for real estate, I would just like to see the opportunity to get into real estate a little bit harder. I think that they could make, you know, just don't open a door to the world. Yeah. I think if anyone really wants to get into real estate, they should be there. It is a wonderful profession. But not everybody is a good fit, as you know, for every sport and for every profession.
Every lawyer, exactly. The barriers to becoming a lawyer, just passing the bar, you know, is,
And that's pretty much what I would love to see changed. It's just that things get tightened up and it becomes more of a professional run business. Yeah. And I think we're going to see some changes coming down the pike with all this new change, which we're not even aware of what the change is yet.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm hopeful for, is that it becomes a more professional driven business as a requirement.
Now, from my perspective as the client, like I had no idea how, like all the what's going on behind the scenes is it just looks like, it's much easier than I know that it is. And I appreciate that how hard you have to work to make it easy on my end.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, you made it easy. Your
Yeah.
whole family made
Oh,
it easy.
please.
And that's what I love, too, about the business, is not the business part,
Right.
but the personal part.
Right. And I feel like Anita and I are going to be
I
friends
was going to say,
forever.
I've got a friend
Exactly.
that I think
Yeah.
I've made, and same with Andy and Sally.
Sally.
I had seen her sister speak at a national convention years ago, and I'm like, Hogshead? There could not be that many Hogsheads in the world. She couldn't really be from the same family, and she was.
Yeah.
Because I knew your mom just as an acquaintance, but small world.
Isn't it?
That is awesome. So I can tell just from both of y'all coming in and being in the front room, just how friendship, how much y'all have already from just in this one transaction between each other and over time, obviously. But it's very awesome to see just how much of a relationship you can form with somebody just through a real estate
After closing,
transaction.
sometimes it can be a letdown because you spend so much time with people.
Yeah.
You learn so much about people.
It's true.
And then the closing happens, and, well, I might see you, or of course I'll be sending you cards or saying hello. But it's kind of like, it's an emptiness when it's all over. It's on to the next.
Yeah, I
and
bet.
that's the one, I think, kind of sad. But with this, I feel like I've got a friend, and
but you're
she's
right
not
here.
going away.
Yeah, that's for sure. But you're right here in San Marco. I mean, how easy peasy. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I want to present to you. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Congratulations
Thank you, Anita.
for this beautiful home that I've loved since the very first day I ever drove past it, as well as other people that I drove past it. So thank you for letting me be a part of it.
Anita. Oh, Anita, how did you have this done? Oh, that's the backside. Look, you guys.
It's an extra print.
Wow.
So you'll forever have your memory.
Holy tamale. Wow. I love it.
I'm so glad.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you for doing the interview.
Absolutely.
Thank
Thank
you
you
very
guys.
much. Yeah.
Thank y'all both very much for doing this today. That completes it today for our Workout Wednesday. Thank y'all so much for watching with us, and we will see you next week. Take care.